Thank you.
You have a good
I'd like to call this meeting of the Washington County Board of Education together. After a moment of silence, I'd like for Kate Larkin to lead us in the pledge of flight. Okay. Yeah, just go ahead.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank y'all for coming tonight. It's going to be a new school year. I got some principals standing out there, or sitting out there. Well, I only see one principal. Two. I'm sorry, Mr. McKinney.
You didn't see
Yeah, I
Miss
might
Wright.
need your
You didn't see
glasses.
Miss Wright, did you?
I see Peggy. That's who I seen.
Well, I'll move so you can see me.
Well, you're a lot prettier than he is. I need a motion for consideration of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye. Now I need a motion for consideration of the meeting agenda.
So moved.
With, did you say Mr. Freeman wasn't going to speak?
Yes.
Do I need to mark him out?
Yeah.
That, I'll second with that correct.
All right. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye. Director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First up is Tommy Burleson to give a report on where we are in the construction process of the school that will open in 4 days.
Actually, it opens Monday, but I feel like it opened this past Monday. While that's coming up, there's a lot of work going on out there. It is ready to open. We spent most of the day today trying to get locks and key cards and all that stuff squared away. And I told you last time this will probably be the last one, but when you see the percent build, there'll probably be one more, and I'll explain that. You can see the building is 97.47%, the site work's 97.47%, the school is 93.68%. The county is actually not billed for the work that's done until the construction manager receives an invoice. There's several people, for some reason, and this is good news to the county, that are just behind in their billings. So, Mitch, that should make you happy. The actual percent complete with the school, actual work done is somewhere in the 99.5% range. But there's about 5% that was done that they just hadn't built it. Same thing on the site. So, that works to your benefit. Everybody knows what this looks like. I wanted to give you a little something right here. 2017, that was the last half of the year was that much rain. 2018, you see how much rain we had. 2019, to date, you see how much rain we had. To say the least, it's been a wet site out there. But fortunately, we were able to get there. That's it 2 years ago. Actually, about 26 months ago. That's it a year ago. And you all out there over the weekend, and that was on Sunday after the open house. So you can see it's come a long ways. It's a beautiful school, it's a great site, and as the site matures and everything, it's just going to get better. Parking lot, actually the signs are up now, all the handicap parking, the lot is completely striped and looks good. This is an aerial shot looking back toward the A wing on the left, the B wing on the right. See the pavement in now, all the side is actually down. It got finished up yesterday and today around the parking up there in the back of behind the library. This is looking down the hallway toward the gymnasium, right at the kind of the 45 where you go out onto the big fenced-in area. Nice long hallway. It looks a whole lot different than it did a couple weeks ago. This is looking down the B hall, or looking down from the office down toward the A part. This is the clinic, all set up, ready to go. This is inside looking outside. This is looking down the A quarter again from, basically got the picture just turned around. That's looking down the B quarter. Same. This is, we were looking at this picture earlier, and I asked one of the people, and I said, so what do y'all think that is? Well, I said, that's got to be the speech room. I said, good guess. I was looking at it trying to figure out what it was. This is the break room beside the speech room. That's just the area. This has all been completely sided now. There was a strip that wasn't sided around on the side. Here's the gym with the seats out. You can see the curtain that's hanging up there now. That's looking back. That's the pads on the back wall. Once again the curtain splits it in two. There's your stage. The curtain up on the stage. It really looks nice. And they're putting these are the carts that have the tables with the chairs on them. Slide in there, and then there'll be the cushions will go on those in case somebody gets bumped into those during the ball game. Then there'll also be, this is concrete now, there's a panel goes on that. It's looking back toward the bleachers again. Now, that's the end of the pictures. A couple of things that we still have to do. The hardware issues, finishing up the punch list. All of the certificate of occupancies and all that stuff that has to be done is there. The sign guide, this is part of the road project, but the flashing sign that is the speed limit signs that come on in the school zone are supposed to go up tomorrow. If they are not up, there will be two big signboards out there. One will be at where you come off Boones Creek Road, and the other will be on Alec Williams's farm up on the other side, sitting on there's not enough shoulder, so it's going to sit in the field right there. They've already got the place ready for it, just in case. So that'll be taken care of. All the lines are in. The majority of the site cleanup is about done. There's a lot of that, just dry weather's helped. We still, if you're out there, you'll notice there's a temporary fence around the retention basin on Highland Church Road. Part of the last thing we do with the contract is we have to clean the silt out of the retention basin, and then we'll put the permanent fence around that. All the fields have been mowed, and all that's taken care of. So other than just a few little items that need to be tweaked up, it's good. There's been instruction on all of how everything works today. They went through the fire alarm, intercom, security cameras, all that, so they all know how to operate all that stuff. So it is it's getting there. It'll be all ready for school. Any questions?
The tall grass between the two brick walls, block walls, facing Boones Creek. Is
Facing with Boones Creek?
Yeah.
They're supposed to mow that. They mowed one of them, but
Okay.
they're supposed to mow the other. Okay.
All right, I didn't know.
No,
I
it's
went through there
all
today and
it's
you
all
can see-
supposed to have been mowed. Okay.
Is that section of land, ground right there, is it wide enough for a
Yes.
mower, or is it a?
You can get
weed
them. You can get them. You can't get a big mower. Well, I guess you could. You could get a mower on
eater?
it. A walk behind mower. You're not going to get a rider.
Yeah.
But you can walk behind mower. It's about.
We call it a weed eater.
Okay. Well, that's what I figured, so.
Because we've had a lot of discussions on mowing out there. Two comments I'd like to make, if I may, is we were involved in the industry tour. Our company was. We had 13 educators in our office Tuesday. Yeah. And what a great event. They were in the office for about 2 hours, and then we took them down to the General Mills, the old mill that's going to be Summer Slavers corporate headquarters, and took them on a tour through there. But it was really great to see the interaction and to see what all went on. And that is a great program, and every industry leader I've talked to that was a part of that really enjoyed it. So congratulations on that. And I would encourage you, if you don't do it every year, at least do it every other year. Okay. The second thing is, and we'll do this at another meeting also, but the success of the internship program that we were involved in. All the Washington County students, we had 3 out of Washington County, 1 out of Johnson County. The young man out of Johnson County decided to go to college and do something other than construction. Got interesting. The 3 out of Washington County, 1 of them graduated. He's already gone to work full time. We've got 1 that's in a co-op program. He's going to go to work. He will work from 11 o'clock on each day and go to school. And another one will graduate in December and will come on board full time there. So it's been a great success for us. We've had after action meetings with the students, and we're going to sit down with the educators. And in Washington County's case, both directors, one at Crockett, one at Daniel Boone, both were in contact with us all summer to see how it's going. So that program can only get better, but I thought you from Acorn Electric and the same thing from Norway. So it's a good program. We just need to keep pushing it on down the road. So, any other questions?
We appreciate you allowing the kids to do that, because you've got to allow it too. So it goes both ways. So
We need, we sat down. It was interesting. You bring the young ones in. We had to sit. We actually had a meeting with our superintendents, our job site superintendents, to tell them how to deal with them. I want to tell you something. These young folks are smart, and they were eager to learn, and it was a lot of fun having them out here. Okay? But they learned a lot too, and they're ready to go in now. I did accuse both of your directors at the schools of sending us the cream of the crop. And he said, no, actually, I just sent you ones that wanted to work. Okay? So that worked out well. But so we're going to try, and the 2 that are going back to school are really encouraged and really fired up about going back and telling others about it, because the students will listen to them a whole lot more than they'll listen to us. So we're excited for it for next year. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
thanks.
Board members, Tennessee Code annotated Title 49-202 provides that local boards of education can, at their discretion, select high school students to serve as advisory members of the Board of Education. Dr. Keys, as secondary supervisor, would you please present our nominees?
Absolutely. When I say your name, I'll list your name, okay? Ronquil Joyner. He plans to major in chemical engineering, architectural engineering, aeronautical engineering, or engineering design with a minor in biological science when he finishes high school. Cade Larkins. Architectural engineering when he graduates. Lakin Jones. Double major in architecture and civil engineering with a minor in Spanish, and possibly joining the Navy. And then Mallory McClelland, and she would like to become an elementary school teacher with a focus in art. So I present to you our nominations for your student board members.
I need a motion that we accept these 4 outstanding students.
I make the motion.
Mary Beth, second. Any more discussion?
Any questions that you
Any
might have for
questions?
these 4?
I'd just like to say I appreciate you all willing to do this.
I would just like to say that I taught Cade's mom and I taught Lakin's sister, so I can vouch for it.
Thank y'all.
Roll call vote on this, please.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye.
Thank you, board members, and duly elected student board members, you're free to stay, but you will be put on a regular rotation, and you'll sit here at the table, and you'll have every right as any board member, save one, you don't get to vote. It would be illegal. But we'll put you on committee rotations, and if you'd like to stay tonight, we'll be here a while, but if the school starting Monday, if school starting Monday, we understand. So, thank you. All right, and next, Mr. Chairman, we have students at nearly every board meeting, all of whom have done remarkable things. Some of them have distinguished themselves greatly, but every once in a while, we have students that have done something that darn near defies description. First, I want you to meet Lacey Rose. Lacey, can you stand up? Stand up. She'll be in the 3rd grade this year at Jonesboro Elementary School. She loves to dance and she loves tumbling, and I found out a little while ago she's getting into hip-hop. And she was born without a radial bone in her left arm. She says she can do anything anybody else can do, it's just a little harder. Now, some folks at Crockett heard about this and found a way to help. Students Landon Haymaker and Jacob Nancy, using some skills learned in their CTE class, and their instructor is Guy McCamus there, built a prosthetic device for Lacey. Landon and Jacob standing there, and Guy, if you want to get up too. Can you talk us through what happened?
Yeah, so Mr. McCamus came up to Jacob and I, and he told us about this special project, right? We thought he was kind of joking at first with what he told us. He told us that there was a young girl that needed help with a prosthetic, and we hadn't done anything like this before, so it was just kind of, just never thought it would happen, but we're here and we did it.
All right. Is it okay to look at the product, Lacey?
She came in one day and we took some measurements of her arm, and we took a piece of paper and started drawing on it. We took those drawings and put it into the AutoCAD system that we use, and after a few hours we had a rough draft of what we thought we could build for her, and this is what we had when we first started.
This was the first generation of it, and it took a few trial and error things. There's black markings all over that showing where we needed to cut stuff out, whatever hurt her, or it was too small, we needed to adjust it. And then we went through 3 generations till she has the one that she does now, and it seems to be working.
All right. These are skills learned down there at Crockett. For their efforts, Landon and Jacob were named members of the 2019 class of Healthcare Heroes by the Tri-Cities Business Journal. You may have seen this in the paper. What you might not have known is that the journal has been giving these awards for more than 25 years. This is the first time it's ever been given to high school students. This is Lacey, thank you, and guys, thank you. We're going to start school Monday no matter what. We'll see you later. All right. Next on the agenda, the school calendar requires a little guesswork every year. We don't know the dates of some events until the calendar is adopted. For 3 straight years, we guessed when the state would schedule the spring ACT. And this is for juniors, and for 3 straight years, we got it wrong. This year, we got it wrong again, and for this reason, Mr. Chairman, I am requesting that the board move the ACT date on our official calendar from Tuesday, March the 24th to Tuesday, March the 17th, and move our report card issue date to March the 16th, the day before the ACT.
I need that in the form of a motion. Mr. Hammonds, I need a second.
Second.
Mr. Ganger, any more discussion?
Is the 16th near the end of the 5 weeks?
It is. We've got to bump it up just a little bit. We'll have to rearrange a few things, but this requires actual calendar. The one thing we can't change is when the state gives the ACT.
Right.
And since that date is also the day of the parent-teacher conference, we've got to get report cards out the day before. So our hands are sort of tied.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger? Mr. Irvin?
Aye.
Thank you. On Monday of this week, senior staff met to reorganize the 5-year plan committees. The recommendations are in your Dropbox. I recommend approval, but note that the plan is entirely yours. So if you want to change any of the members, chairman or otherwise on any of the committees, it is entirely at the discretion of the Board of Education. But I would recommend that the board adopt the committee membership as shown. This includes the addition of the new goal 9.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any more, Mr. Hammonds? Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger? Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger?
Yes.
Mr. Klinger?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. We have a last minute addition, and I apologize, Mr. Ganger, for not having this in time to bring to the Facilities Committee. But, can I get that, my little PowerPoint, Harold?
The one that you gave me?
Yes, thank you. You're aware that Johnson, or the Boones Creek family is donating some, a lot of playground equipment to the tune of over $100,000. Unbeknownst to us, they've already started the purchase process, having no idea it required board approval to put playground equipment on a campus that belongs to you. The areas that I have crudely circled are where equipment will go, and I want to distribute. And let me see the next slide too. This is an artist rendition of some of the items that they are purchasing. And this is the actual quotation and a complete list of what they propose to put in place there at Boones Creek. Let's see the next slide as well. If I were 8 years old, I think I'd want to play on it. In fact, I think I'd just like it my age. Yes, ma'am. And a complete exhaustive list of what they have in mind is there. And you've seen where it's supposed to go. Mr. Patrick has inspected the sites completely. He'll be having the sod moved and finds no problems with where it's going. And Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend approval of this shopping list and placement.
Will you go back to the school, to the slide picture?
Which one?
This.
Yeah.
That's where it'll go, and both of those areas will be fully fenced in. That's an overhead. That's all I had at the time.
May I add something, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman? The areas between the two wings, it'll be a pre-K
That's what
first and second playground,
Right.
one there by itself.
Right.
The other larger area will contain 3 play areas for the different age groups. The ancillary items you see, such as small swings, benches, there'll be some garbage cans, outdoor garbage cans, and I think just scattered around in the different areas.
And the company that we purchased this from is the company that installs it, correct?
Actually, no. There is. We have a couple of contractors that are locally certified to install playground equipment for school systems. One of them being Armstrong, which is a local company, and they will be contracted by the boosters and the parents to install this playground equipment. I might add that this will not have mulch under it. It'll actually have the concrete base with a rubber pad, which requires little to no maintenance, which I'm very appreciative of.
But the PTO club's actually going to buy the playground equipment, donate that to the school.
Actually, it's the man and his wife, and she happens to be the president of the PTO there, but they are going to buy the equipment, and I think the PTO is going to raise funds for the installation, and they will contract with that installer, which I will have close contact with. And
Did they say anything about timeline on this?
they have not. This equipment comes out of China,
Right.
so there'll be some, some shipping and some time lag involved there.
Approval tonight would speed the process as opposed to approval monthly.
But I mean, probably a spring.
I'm sure.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman, we approve them purchasing this equipment.
Second.
A motion and a second, any more discussion? Roll call vote.
Well, we're actually approving the location of where, as I took it, where we're putting it, and whether they buy it or not is irrelevant. I mean, we can't
You need to, actually, the board needs to accept the
accept it once they
donation.
donate it to us, correct?
Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Gager? Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am, and thank you.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman.
Motion, yes. Okay.
Dr. Flannery, is this was a company, I guess, I know it's a couple, but they have a company, and that's, or is it just their, I mean, we need to do something, that's what I'm getting at, as a board, as a system, do something for, and I was thinking if that was their company, per se, maybe we could get advertisement on one of the buses for them, or, do
Just
something.
give them an advertisement.
Yeah, if it's their company. I
That
don't
would be
know.
entirely up to the board. If y'all want to show some type of gratitude with that, I'd say would be acceptable, but that's entirely up to you all. But yes, they have,
Could you look into
they
that
do have a
for me?
business. They do have a business. I don't know exactly what that business
They
is.
sell hot tubs
Yeah.
and spas. And
Construct and sell hot tubs and spas, so.
we can absolutely, the cost would be minimal, and you already own the buses. I mean, the sign company already knows what to do. We can give them a couple of buses.
Could you look into that, maybe bring it back through, whether it's finance or facilities or whatever, if there's a cost or
Count.
approve it?
Yes, sir.
Move it. We appreciate their generosity.
There are 3 annual agenda items. One of them is fee waivers, which are supposed to be illegal, but for some reason state law still says that they have to be approved by the board. It's a moot point, we don't have any, so we move on. You are supposed to approve meal prices every year at this time, but you did that 30 days ago, so without exception, can you skip that?
Yes.
And the vehicle authorization report will come up later on in staff reports tonight. So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report, and I think we're done.
Yeah. Okay, next, cost-cutting measures. Mr. Director, do you have any suggestions, or any other board members?
A member of the board asked that this be put on the agenda, and I will turn that over to him.
That'd be me. I wanted, after our retreat, I got to thinking more and more about it. I'd like to make a motion that maybe the director or the chairman come up with a committee, and I don't think long-term committee, maybe 3 months, whatever we decide, of a group of faculty, staff, and board members to look at everything and try to figure out any place that we're spending unnecessary money, not necessary money, but unnecessary money, that we could, use for some of these other things. Every time we come in here, we're getting hit for more and more needs that we need, and I think we ought to put together maybe a temporary committee for so many months to look at the whole system, as a whole, and what we can do to maybe cut some money to be able to use it in other areas. And then have them report back, say in 3 months, and let's look at what we can do to, things that we agree that we can add or take away.
That was a motion.
A motion, yes.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I'm tickled to death we're going to pursue this. The only thing is if there's only a few board members on there, it's got to come back to the full board. And I'm just throwing this out here as an amendment to that. Would you be willing to do it as a full board, for a temporary amount of time, but include all? I don't mean this the wrong way, but I just wonder if we don't need to just have the department heads and the superintendent and the board, they know what they can cut. Because I don't want it to come up, you know, somebody get their feelings hurt when it comes to faculty, because, you know what I'm saying, don't want to hold them. I mean, it's the department head's job to find where they can cut waste. I think it would mean more coming from there.
I understand what you're saying. My only thinking was, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think any of us, you know, Mr. Patrick might know something even small. I'm talking, I mean, even if it's a couple $100 a month, or it may be $10,000 a year, and Miss Kite may know something, or Brad may, you know, I don't know who is the right folks for the committee, but I don't necessarily have to be on the committee, but I think they'll report back to the board as a whole to see what those savings are. That was kind of what I had in mind.
We'll just leave it like that.
You're mainly concerned about our attendance dropping,
well, I think
getting less money from the state?
I think overall, I think that's one thing, but I just think that, you know, as our duty is to, you know, we're constantly feeding out more money and we always have more needs, but at some point I think we gotta dig a little deeper on some things that we're just spending that we don't need. And yeah, I mean, of course, attendance dropping. I feel like even the Boones Creek School, even if we pick up 300 kids from Boones Creek School, that's a two-year temporary fix at the end of the day, because, you know, if we pick up 300 kids, well, we're losing 150 a year. So in 2 years, we're right back to losing 150 a year. So, I mean, we gotta look at whatever it is, I think, to, you know, just like we want to do raises for everybody, you know, we keep giving, which is wonderful, but we got to cut some fat somewhere, I think, that we can put back in places where necessary. And I don't know what the answer is, but I think as a group we can figure it out.
Anybody else? Okay.
I was just looking at our 5-year committees that you've already gotten established. I don't know if those of you that are more familiar with this, is there any of these particular committees that would fit what Mr. Day recommended? I mean, Jason, would that be, I mean, if there's something on.
I'll tell you what I want. I don't want people to meet and never have an answer. I want them to bring something to us and say, here's what we come up with where we can save money. Then we can look at it and say, we can't cut that, or we could cut that. You know, like I said, I don't want anything harmful, but I feel like if we don't demand some kind of report, we're not going to get one. So I didn't see anything on here that really did that. And like I said, I don't want people to spend a whole year trying to do that, but we could do it over a period of a few months and then end it. We may not do it again for 2 years, but, you know, at least look at it. I feel like there's something. You know, Dr. Flannery even made a mention at the retreat about rental cars instead of comping our own vehicles. Maybe it's a bad idea, but, you know, he said he looked at it a few years ago and it was a $10,000 savings a year. I mean, I like driving my own car, but it ain't about me. If I want to drive my own car, I'll still drive it. I'll just pay to drive it. So that's what I'm saying. There's stuff. I know there is.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll come in and have a meeting with Mr. Flannery and we'll discuss that a little bit. See if we can come up with a committee if we use this, committee on committees, or we use something, and I'll try to do that. Anybody else? Okay. Request to address the board. Oh, it is a motion? Okay. All right. Roll call vote on this.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms.
Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
No. Motion passes. And I'm gonna say why I voted no is because I feel like our system's doing everything as good as possible with what they've got to operate with. So that's why I felt no. That's just my opinion. Request to address the board. Karen Jenkins. Ms. Jenkins, you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Dr. Flannery and the board, for having me up here. My name is Karen Jenkins, and I'm with Boone Ballers. And you might be thinking, well, who cares? Why do we need to know about Boone Ballers? But last year we had almost 350 of the Washington County children in our program. And it might be because I was a news reporter for a few years, or just because I'm a community member, but I did last year. So we took over for what used to be Boone Hoops, which was around forever, apparently. And just some parents decided, you know, we need to have a youth basketball program continue on our side of the county, so we came up with Boone Ballers. We have since applied and received our 501c3 designation, so we are doing everything what I feel is the right way, you know, being transparent with our money, filing taxes. We did increase the admission at the games from $1 to $2. You might not think that's much, but that allowed us to pay our referees more. We now have referees that call me wanting to ref our games, which makes, if you know anything about basketball, that is a huge difference to have quality referees at the games. We used 3 of the school facilities last year. We played our games at Gray, Fall Branch, and Sulphur Springs. We had 31 teams and 6 cheerleading squads. So it was very difficult to find 31 places to practice. We played in the Johnson City Parks and Rec League before, and I don't know if your children have ever played there, but their elementary schools have gyms, and then their middle school has a gym. Their elementary school doesn't have to share their gym time with their middle school boys team, their middle school girls team, wrestling, I mean, so many things. So one of our biggest difficulties is finding a place for 31 teams to practice in the county. I spoke with Dr. Flannery about this last year. I talked to Mr. Hammonds about it. I understand there's a board policy that a school employee has to be on site if we use the facility. And I think that's great. I don't want anybody just walking into our schools. But because we are kind of a county organization, you know, Dr. Flannery had a suggestion last year that our board members, at our own cost, go through the background check that the school teachers go through, sort of apply to be substitute teachers, and if that is granted, then we would have access to the schools. I thought that was a great idea. Gray chose not to go that route. We had to pay a Gray employee to open the gym for us. On game days, Fall Branch had a wonderful community organization that came in and opened the gym for us, and they ran a concession stand as a fundraiser. Sulphur Springs, one of our board members, was allowed to open the gym. But every Saturday from November through March, this man, Eric Bailey, bless his heart, was at the Sulphur Springs gym from 8:30 to 3 on his own time, unpaid, to be the designated person at that gym. So what I would like to ask the board is if you agree with Dr. Flannery's suggestion last year that all of the Boone Ballers board members pass these background checks, that perhaps we are given a key to the gym, and if we have a schedule and we say Karen Jenkins is going to be in charge of Boone's Creek Gym, she's going to work with the principal and the coaches, and when that gym is not in use, we can have some Boone Baller practices there, that would be allowed, or that we can make a schedule so that Eric Bailey isn't at Sulphur Springs Gym his entire life, but that on, you know, December 7th it's Karen, December 14th it's Amanda Schaefer, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just asking for more access to our gyms for our organization. Again, it's 350 of your kids. And it's not only a great, I mean, I love sports. So it's not only a great way to learn, you know, the skills and sportsmanship and that sort of thing, but I'm also very competitive. And if we want to have a great middle school team, a great high school team, these feeder programs are extremely important. So, anyone have any questions about our money? I do also want to say that each month we did a kind of a benevolence program. So in December at the games, people brought things for the Gray Community Chest. In January, we collected for the Washington County Animal Shelter, and in February, we collected for the homeless shelter. And then also at the end of the year, we donated $200 back to each of the schools that allowed us to play our games there. So we definitely want to be a community program, give and take, and that's all I got.
What's the upper grade level in your league?
Well, we started kindergarten, which is new. It didn't have kindergarten before, and we go all the way up to a 5th, 6th grade team. And it's boys and girls. So it allows those 6th graders who may not make the JV team still a chance to play.
Are we okay with liability and anything like that?
We do have our own insurance
Okay.
that we pay for through a Target Insurance Company. And on that policy, we can list this, well, we do have to list the schools that we will be playing in.
Mr. Ganger?
This is for basketball, starts in November, is that what you said?
Yes, our insurance policy will go through November through the end of February to cover us.
I'd like to just say, I think this needs to go through facilities. That way we can hash any kind of questions out to the committee, bring back to full board. That'd be my recommendation. That way Mr. Patrick can share his ideas. Dr. Flannery may have some concerns or ideas, and any board member think can share their ideas. And, since we got a few months.
Yes, I just, like I said, I wanted you guys to put a face with a name and let you know what we've been doing. We've been working really hard to keep this program going after Good News stopped.
Jason?
I know exactly what she's saying. Emmy did it years ago at Grandview, and it really is an issue. I don't know how we fix it. I know we need to go through facilities, but it really, I mean, I'm sure there's trustworthy people that can open a gym and, you know, take care of it, but I think we definitely need to look at it because those are great programs all around.
While we're doing that, I'd like Dr. Flannery, I'd like, you're saying grade they're doing it different from the other schools. I'd like us all to be across the board. And I appreciate the job y'all are doing, by the way, because these schools do belong to the community. So I would like all across the board, not shotgun our policy or procedure.
And that worked at Gray because they had someone willing to do that. But that was a big commitment for that employee to come every Saturday and open the gym and sit there for our games. And it was an expense for us as well. But the other schools, we couldn't find someone from Sulphur Springs who was willing to do that. So, but yeah, having a uniform policy would be great for us.
And it seems like he's got an great alternative idea.
I thought it was a great idea, yeah. And we're all willing to pay that at our own expense, and we would all pass, so.
I just wonder, do we need to get the athletic director involved? Has he worked with you before?
I have talked with Danny before, but he's always deferred to the principals because each school has their policies. But yes, I mean, I've talked to Danny several times about that. He's tried to get us into the auxiliary gym when he can. But, you know, the gyms are just used a lot, obviously.
Well, they're about a first come, first served.
Right.
Who you know or whatever. But I'd like to see our principals and athletic director be involved in that conversation as well.
I think it'd be, I think it's a good idea. Yes.
Sharon got a good idea.
Yeah, for once.
Good job, Chad.
Get that.
Write it down, Chad, good idea.
Thank you.
That's my idea. I had to
Thank you.
You know how it works. Anybody else? Thank you, ma'am. We'll get it to the
Great.
proper committee.
And I do just want to say also, my son goes to Boones Creek. Thank you. It is a beautiful school, and as a parent, you know, I've told him that every taxpayer in this county has contributed to that, and that he needs to be appreciative and thankful and respectful, and he will be. But it's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee reports, facilities. Mr. Ganger?
All right, Facilities Committee met earlier in the week. It was dropped in your Dropbox. Hopefully everyone had time to read it, look at it. So with that being said, I'd like to move for approval of the report.
Second.
Can I have a second on the, oh, Chad, you do it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I thought it was Reed.
What is the update on the new the boilers? Where are we?
Well, wait
on
just a
that?
second.
Okay.
We'll get there.
I'll be jumping in.
All those in favor of the report, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, Mr. Gaines.
Okay, committee makes a recommendation, to declare the David Crockett High School boiler replacement as an emergency item and pull up to $200,000 from the fund balance to pay for the replacement. Put that in form of a motion.
I have a second.
Second.
Second. Discussion?
If I need give a little background for those that weren't at the committee. The boiler needs to be, Mr. Patrick has stated that, we need to get started on it immediately before cold weather starts to roll in. And, help me out here, Dr. Flannery, if I start to say this wrong, but, we didn't have time for bids to go out.
There's a very real possibility if they had to go back all the way to the bid process, it would be way, way into cold weather before these things are back online. We think it qualifies as an emergency. And Mr. Hale says we'll probably get written up anyway because there's so much money involved. You got a heat Crockett. If you shut it down, school the size of Crockett, 3 or 4 days because it's too cold, 1,100 students a day, and funding lost $200,000 all of a sudden isn't that much money.
So I thought we approved for this, so what happened to us approving it and it was?
It went to, the county commission actually fully funded a resolution to replace the boiler. Come to find out, the process that we used did not meet the Act of 1957. What's the right nomenclature there?
The Purchasing
Act of 1957. Therefore, Mr. Shrewsbury can't issue a purchase order. So we're back to square one, and the parts are laying down there at Crockett ready to be installed.
What makes us exempt from that 1957 Purchasing Act? Does it?
If it's a sole source vendor, then we don't have to bid it. And we're going to talk about one of those too. Other than that, it has to be bid if it's over 10,000. I don't know of any way around it unless it's sole source.
Dr. Flannery, I don't think the Washington County Board of Education ever adopted the 57 Purchasing Act. I think you fall under the 40, whatever
I believe you're right.
And that, so it's not exempting it from the act. We just, as a board of education, we operate under a different set of statutes than the county does.
But we would still bid a project like that if it was done as a standalone project because it's over so much money.
So you need a motion from this board to proceed with as an emergency?
Yes, sir. Need $200,000 from the fund balance. Now, it could be a wash because you had already appropriated about that amount for the 2 Jonesboro projects, the cooling tower and the controls. And that got through HEW today. So it could be a wash there. And if you approve the Energy Systems Group's package next week, the boilers fall into that, so you get all that money back.
And I think my intentions would be if we didn't approve the ESG or if any of that fell through, that ultimately I think we'd send Dr. Flannery back to that Hugh and ask for the money back. If they probably wouldn't, because they'd have to share, but still, I would ask.
We got 2 things. Well, yeah, 2 things. I'd like to ask Brad, how much is in our fund balance at the moment, sir?
Well, I have to go by last year's audit report, it's about 6.1 million. Because the audit's not completed yet for this year, so Any figure I would tell you right now would be totally unaudited, and, you know, it could change. But I can tell you, it's looking like we're not gonna go negative this year. It actually looks, I'm anticipating we're gonna add, like we did last year.
But we spent 1.8 million over, you know, out of our fund balance. This is,
We have not spent that.
I mean, no, for next year, our budgeted.
We budgeted, 1.41, I believe.
Okay.
Or no, excuse me, we did go up to that 1.8 at the end. Now, that's what's budgeted. You know, obviously, we'll try to manage our expenses where that doesn't happen, but that is budgeted for next year.
And we're gonna have a meeting on the ESG idea.
1 week from now.
Then I'll make a motion that we postpone this vote until next Thursday. It was postponed until next Thursday, just to wait and get that information.
I'll second that.
Can you have discussion on this?
If it's postponed, you can, right?
I guess, I don't know, what is parliamentary?
I thought yours was a motion, Todd.
Mine is a motion, but I guess he's postponing what
Motion to postpone
override
the
it.
privilege.
But can we discuss a postpone?
You may discuss the motion to postpone.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, to me, there's no reason to postpone, because if we accept ESG next week, it's a wash. It's already in the scope of work to be done. If you don't, then we've just delayed trying to get this done. And
Well,
we're trying to get it started and done, because Mr. Packer says, you know, we're in a time, we don't have a lot of time. We gotta get started doing it.
right, and I'm not arguing that point. The only point is if we approve ESGs, does it not go to the full county commission and they pay it? We're not paying it out of our fund balance. I'm just thinking, you know, and I don't,
No, all they'd have to approve is the bond issue, and then you've serviced the debt from the energy savings.
so it's still coming out of our money.
Well, it comes out of energy savings, you'll never, it'll be
If we
budget
make
neutral.
energy savings.
So is emergency
Well, those are
fund
guaranteed by
different,
contract.
is emergency fund different than where we're paying ESG out of?
Oh,
No, it's the same pot, it's just a different method. I mean, an emergency allows you to go ahead and purchase it without jumping through the bid hoops. It still comes out of the same, still coming out of.
And please don't misunderstand, the job has been priced competitively.
Yeah.
With 3 different contractors, different equipment, and we have got the best price possible. It just did not meet county government's purchasing statutes. It's imperative that we start as soon as possible.
Is the law, does this fit within the law that we can make this an emergency?
Well, I think it does, because if you don't get started immediately, we'll be well into heating season before this project is finished, facing the potential of shutting that second largest school down. Because if it gets below a certain temperature, we can't have school.
The only thing I worry about, if I may, like Annette's saying, it's an emergency because we did it wrong. It's not an emergency because it's emergency because we did the bid process wrong. We made that mistake, is somebody gonna come back and say, well, that really wasn't an emergency, you just didn't handle it right.
They might, and it would amount to an audit.
Yeah.
And that's better than closing school because we don't have heat for the kids.
Yeah, it wasn't
I don't think
intended,
6
I'm sure.
days is gonna put school out.
But the thing about it is, the thing is, you can approve it tonight, and regardless of what happens next Wednesday or Thursday, you know, it's not gonna affect nothing. You approve the ESG, this is in the scope of work anyway.
And if we don't?
We have to do it.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's an emergency thing, so I mean, I don't see how it affects it either way. I mean,
But it's
we've
coming-
got to get this fixed for those.
I agree, it needs to be fixed, but I think it's coming out of 2 different pots, correct? The reason I'm postponing is because I want the county, the Washington County, the government to pay for it, instead of our fund balance, which is dwindling because, you know, there are, I mean, that's what, it's ironic, we talked about cost-cutting measures tonight in one hand, and now we're pulling 200,000 out of our fund balance. I just thought it'd be better if we could go out of the capital money.
I mean, I agree with you, but I think that's where the problem is that if you're gonna use the county capital projects fund, then you've gotta go bid this project, and it will be 2 months before you're there ready
Yeah,
to
see, that'll
install.
push the date out.
Even if we go with ESG's
No, ESG would be paid for through a bond issue, not the capital money.
Yeah, now if we adopt it, if the other piece is, do we adopt ESG's proposal next week, and they roll this into that, then, I mean, I haven't seen what their final proposal is, but my understanding is that the county would issue bonds to fund it, and then either ESG would purchase the equipment on our behalf.
They're purchasing already, anyway.
But we haven't been billed, just because we approved this tonight, we're not writing a check tomorrow for $200,000.
The invoice won't come until the job's complete.
Till after
By
next
that
week's
time,
meeting anyway.
Either the school board and the Washington County Commission will have accepted the ESG proposal to sell bonds, and then that portion, the boiler, is rolled into that project.
So
It
you're
doesn't
just,
come from your fund balance, it comes from savings from energy cost only.
you're pretty much saying we're just scotching it for a second option and paying it out of our fund balance if we don't go that way.
My question was, if hypothetically we approve ESG, does that not gotta go before the county to get approval?
Yes, it does.
So how are we gonna go ahead and let them go do a boiler when we gotta go get approval? That's not gonna be done overnight.
Either, let's say we didn't have an ESG proposal, and
We wouldn't have this problem.
right, you would go ahead and declare it an emergency fund, and we would start construction tomorrow.
Yeah, well, we would have voted on it 2 months ago, and we'd have got proper 3 votes, and then we'd have done it, and we wouldn't have been taking it out of the emergency fund. But we didn't, so that's what I'm saying, if we did ESG, can we really just turn them loose working without county approval that the county's gonna fund ESG?
Well, if they don't, then we pay for it out of the fund balance.
I know, but still, they probably would, but if they don't, that's what I'm saying, we don't know. So we
That's
can't
right,
really,
that's the reason we need to
can't
go
really
ahead and
vote
approve
on.
this, so that we can start.
The kids have gotta have heat regardless if
I mean-
ESG's ever existed.
I'll answer that, Mr. Day. No, we can't, until that, we know money's available, we can't turn it loose on all this money.
What I'm saying, exactly, well, that's what I'm getting at, so we're doing it wrong anyway. No matter what we do, we're doing it wrong.
But if you pass this
We're just
motion,
we're just gonna have school while winter, is what we're gonna try to do.
I mean, I know it's not the right way to do it, I know it's probably been screwed up. But the bottom line is, if we don't get this fixed, we're closing school, because kids can't sit in there in a cold school. And
What if we do move forward with the ESG, proposal?
Yes.
And I'm comparing, as you heard Mr. Shrewsbury probably discuss with the facilities committee, the process we used when we used Burleson as, I can't think right term, but when we did the work over at the jail, they had to hire subs. They were the construction manager, if you will, but they had to obtain subs and materials for that project. Well, they had to bid that stuff in accordance with the 57 Act purchasing act. I mean, they had to advertise and all that. What's the process with ESG? Is it the same kind of process with ESG? Or is
It basically is. The only difference is that the county government will not be allocating any extra monies to the Washington County Board of Education.
Right.
So the Washington County Board of Education will pay for this out of the current funds that have already been split and shared with Johnson City, correct?
Well, I'm talking about the big picture, not just.
I am too, and the picture that they use is as a professional service. They qualify contractors, and we actually have in the program that's set up now, Norwell, SB White, and another contractor are going to split up these jobs across because not any single contractor is large enough to handle all of them anyway. So they have value engineered it, got it down to where those 3 contractors can do the work.
You will run into the same problem you got with the boilers, I think, if the capital projects fund pays for it.
Capital projects fund's not paying for
Okay.
the ESG large scope or the small scope. I mean, we're voting to take this from surplus. So, yeah, that's the reason.
Brad, you have something?
Well, I can just clarify how the funding will work, regardless of ESG or not, either way you go there. If you approve, as far as the funds go, like Dr. Flannery said, the Jonesboro cooling tower and the controls went through Q committee today. And if that goes to full commission and they approve that, funding-wise, it'll be a wash for this because it's over $200,000 that was in the FY20 budget for those 2 projects. So if the county picks that up, it's kind of a wash with the David Crockett project, as far as funding goes with our fund balance anyway. Now, if they don't and the commission denies the 2 Jonesboro projects, then we would, I don't think they will, but if they did, then we would just have to amend our budget, a few months down the road when we do the first budget amendment to absorb the 200. But I can't imagine they'll deny the Jonesboro projects, but I don't get a vote. So. But that's just how the funding would work, at least on our side.
Thank you, Ron.
Let me just ask a question, and on our roof projects, have we done that before? Did we take it out of our fund balance, or did the county pay for it because we bid it out?
County paid for it. Come from capital projects money.
And they bid it.
And it was bid publicly by an architect.
According to 57 Act rules.
Correct.
I mean, I know we've done it 3 bids. I mean, I don't, we're not hiding nothing. It's just, I know we have a lot more needs on the table we need to be spending money on, just in the last few months we've identified. And this is obviously gonna change those needs.
I have a motion and a second to postpone this till next week. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, please.
Clarification that, so we're going to put this on next week's agenda with the ESG.
Or
we can take
and
action
if this fails, then we're going to vote on it tonight. Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ganger?
No.
Mr. Meredith?
No.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
No.
Ms. Dillinger?
No.
Mr. Flainer?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
No.
5 no.
Okay, now we have a motion on going ahead and doing it and taking it out of the $200,000 out of the fund balance. Any more discussion? Mr. Flainer?
No other option before it gets cold weather. 200 out of fund balance.
Todd Ganger? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger?
Yes.
Mr. Flainer?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Urban?
Fix the broiler. Mr. Ganger?
Okay, the committee moves to approve the MOA template for, that Mr. Bennett provided the board. It should be in your Dropbox. Hopefully you had time to look at it, so committee recommends approval of the MOA.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Buchanan? Discussion?
Earlier today, Mr. Patrick and Jennifer Moore went through, at the committee's request, went through this MOU and created basically a checklist that simplifies it from lawyer language to the rest of us. And I understood it, but whatever that's worth. And
I was gonna move for approval of that after this, unless you, is that what you were wanting to?
I just wanted to make the board aware that it exists.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
No.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Mr. Ganger?
On what Dr. Flannery said, earlier in the day, hopefully you all had a chance to look, Jennifer dropped in your Dropbox a checklist of the construction to kind of simplify things that you'll be able to give to whatever organization or committee wanting to do some construction on the school sites. So it's in your Dropbox if you didn't get a chance to look at it, but the committee asked Dr. Flannery if he'd let Mr. Patrick and I believe Jennifer worked on it to provide us with a checklist, and they did. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept that checklist for construction and add it to the MOA as part of that document.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Second.
Chad seconded. Any more discussion?
So the MOA that we just approved, it was specifically for David Crockett High School, was it not?
No, they will change the name.
Just change the name out,
Yeah.
because the one I got yesterday just said David
It'll
Crockett.
be just like in Boone does theirs, it'll have Boone or Gray or
Or for
whatever
that.
that is.
I'd like to say this, and if I need to put it in a form of a motion, I will. I believe we need to put this in our policy somewhere. Ashley, add this into policy somehow.
Yeah, that could be June.
Vote on that,
So if you want to, we can,
don't have a policy.
my part, we'll put it into the policy meeting for next week, or whenever our policy,
And this-
13th.
I was gonna ask, can this not be just an administrative, be a part of your administrative procedure?
If you don't put it in policy, it will be in administrative procedure.
Where's
If you
the
choose
best?
to elevate it to board policy level, that's fine too.
What's the difference, what's the?
Board
It's just
policy,
in policy.
policy drives administrative procedure, and the difference is I can change administrative procedure in 30 seconds. It takes 60 days to change board policy.
What do you think, Jack?
Well, my only thing is, and I'm fine with it if it needs to go to policy. I mean, I have no problem with that, but I thought it'd be easier to handle if it just was through the administrative. But I also realize I don't like this the MOA all the way either. And I think as a board, we're gonna be tweaking it as necessary. It was some of the conversation in the committee was it's too wordy and it's too attorney-like. You know, that's why we made this checklist to try to simplify it a little bit so it's easier to understand. So, I mean, either way is fine with me, I guess, but, I mean, whatever the board decides.
Well, I'll drop my motion, but
Well, you didn't have a motion because.
well, I did.
No, we got a motion on the table already.
Well, amendment,
Okay.
but I was gonna amend it to have this put into policy, but I think I'll just wait till we have our policy meeting and then we'll talk about it again. I'd like to put that on the agenda, Ashley. Okay.
So what's the motion?
Motion's just to
Motion.
accept the checklist of
The
construction.
new one?
Yes, that's in your Dropbox. Add it to this MOA.
And I have a second. Any more discussion?
Will we have that like in the exhibit?
Yes.
Or-
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
That's all I got.
Motion passes.
all I
Mr.
got.
Fleener?
While we're on facilities, can I make a motion? Will you entertain one? While we're here?
Well, it's facilities, I guess we
It is
can
have to
listen
do
to
along
your-
with facilities.
Can you just discuss it first?
No, they got.
Pull the trigger, Chad, pull the trigger.
Let's pull it. We've kicked this can, if you will. You like that one, don't you?
We picked a lot of cans.
Until my foot's already sore over these two.
Baseball facility.
Baseball facilities, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I want to see us approve Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett's baseball facilities. It's not going to cost us one dime, so it doesn't go back to the cost cutting measures. As long as it goes by through Brad and Mr. Patrick, I want to see us end tonight the big fiasco we've had out here.
As long as they follow the MOU.
Yes, sir.
Well, I thought with us passing that's what we was doing.
I want to see us move it on. We already know what they've had. We've already looked at the drawings.
Well, that's what this is gonna do. Now that we've approved those MOAs, now the athletic directors, principals can.
And they'll come back through the board.
We won't have to.
We'll have to, since that's what the MOA says.
Period. Well, the end thing, yes, they may. Well, you gotta realize too, Chad, that's the whole purpose of it. There's a checklist now of things they go down through, and if they've secured the funding, they've secured the approval for it, the site, Mr. Patrick, all those things. All they've got to do is come back here and say, hey, we're ready to start.
I want to see it.
And they can do that next Thursday if they get on the agenda.
I want to make the motion tonight. I want to see them three young men back there happy. And there may be somebody watching it.
Well, I'm pretty sure they're happy already anyway.
We don't know what they're going to build. We know everything about it.
Everything's approved.
I want to see us move. I'll make that motion.
One of them doesn't have the funding, Chad.
That'll be up to Mr. Hale. They've got funding for the 50,000 or whatever. If it doesn't have to go through the whole fiasco like it did before, it's going to have the
It's on the
funding.
list we just approved.
Yeah, it's on the list. We just-
So it
they
will
have
not
to
have to come
the
back
funding.
here.
Yes, they do.
They
They have to.
Oh, we'll see you in 4 months.
You leave?
No, I'm still making that motion. Let's see what happens. I've seen crazier things.
Wait a minute, let's talk about this just a second.
He's got a motion.
Hey, I said we'd be out of here by 8:30.
I'll second his motion. I won't talk about it.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Now, any discussion?
Can I?
Yes, Mr. Day, go ahead.
So you read that.
And it still has to come through the board. That's what I'm saying. We don't know what to, I'm sorry. You go right ahead.
No, I'm trying to make sure we're all on the same page here. So we know it's gotta come back to the board, even though they've already been to the board 3 times.
Is that all?
At least 3.
Okay.
This thing says it's gotta go back to the board again, correct?
We got to meet the checklist.
But if they ain't got the money to do it, then
They can't come to the board. Till they
so,
get the funding.
okay, so back up to what Todd was saying. If it's a supervisor approval, it's not in policy, they can approve it. Right, so it don't have to come back to the board. Correct? Yeah.
If I may, in the exhibit you had approved on the checklist, organization will appear before the facilities committee, which has already happened. You all know where they're going, what they're going to be. I have approved where they're going and what they're going to be in the style of construction. Then the board has approved this MOA or MOU, which you would like to call it. Then, if you like, after the completion of all previous steps in the last bullet, the director of schools will give notice to the organization to proceed with the project, and the memorandum of understanding will be executed. So, when they meet the criteria in the main document, you all can go ahead and give Director Flannery the authority to give them permission to proceed.
And actually, when Keith signs, or the chairman signs that document, that we're done, because there's, Dr. Flannery signs it, the chairman signs it, the organization signs it, and so after they get all those signatures, because they followed.
You could actually make a motion right here that you give the director permission to execute the MOU with the organization at David Crockett and Daniel Boone High School on the condition that they meet the conditions of the MOU.
That's what we want.
And then you're good to go.
Can I amend my motion to them exact words?
You gotta say it.
there.
You gotta say them.
What was that one more time?
No, take that.
to authorize the director to execute the MOU upon the completion of all points.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
We're just,
Did he have a motion?
He had a motion and a second on that first. You dropped your,
I would like to correct it to that language.
to that language
Yes.
instead of what you had first. Okay,
Please.
all right. I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
So that means, if they do not have the money, you will not sign it.
Correct.
So that's what it says.
I just wanna make sure that that's.
And they-
I don't
It's
wanna-
not gonna cost
I don't
us
wanna
about it.
end up then on it's coming back.
And they
Yep.
can't get halfway in and then not have the funding.
Right, so the funding has to be up.
Everything has to be up
All right.
above board, okay?
Roll call vote on this, please.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
No.
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye.
I'd like to take a 5-minute recess to celebrate this.
How about 10?
I have a motion for a 10-minute recess.
Bye. Would you let me come?
Let me just inform you just a little bit.
I'll just help you, bud. I'm just looking out for you over here, okay? And I'm thinking, why are these folks gonna go on?
Bringing the meeting back to order. Mr. Hale, Finance. Oh, I am sorry. Okay.
We attempted to have the finance committee today, but we did not have a quorum, so therefore I'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Hale.
I didn't know that you had that.
John,
Ms. Dillon. I apologize. I was told that we
The
had to do
viewing
it here.
audience.
Excuse me.
Well, this will be my first presentation of finances to the full board, so this will be interesting. So,
Mr. Chairman,
just take one of these.
can I just kind of make a statement, I guess, before we start? You know, all this was dropped earlier, and, you know, I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at the stuff or not. My suggestion would be, unless, you know, let Brad give us a summary of it, and if there's questions, you know, you can ask him if you have an individual question, as opposed to making him go through the whole thing. But that's just a suggestion. I mean, if everybody's had a chance to look at it, somebody may not have had a chance.
Well, I think I believe it would be wise for Brad just to go over a summary of it and, you know, we approve it.
Has it been dropped? This hasn't been dropped in our box, has it?
Jennifer dropped it in your Google.
Oh, I didn't see it, I'm sorry.
You must want to use your
I
iPad.
guess I knew I was gonna get this, so.
You need $100 a day, and you can't even use your iPad.
Just to be correct, since we're not able to have the finance committee meeting, I'll have you replace page 1 with what I'm handing out right now. This is just the new page 1, since we did not have.
Order over our gentlemen. Order.
They're talking about.
It's just worded a little different, saying this is presented to the full board, not with the verbiage of going through finance committee. Okay, so the first, after page 1, your first packet is just what we call a narrative, and that goes over the key revenue items for the month of June. And you'll notice at the top, it will say unaudited statements, so I have to preface this month with, there still could be journal entries that could be significant, may not be. Once the state auditors complete the audit, they may have some other adjustments that will modify this. So, but the books did get officially closed here this week. So I'm finalizing the year-end reports on E-Plan for all the federal grants and and all the state dollars as well. I hope to have that completely finished by tomorrow. But when you get the audit report near the end of the year, there could still be some modifications. I just want to make sure everyone understands that. So I won't go through all these like normally we do in Finance Committee. I can hit some of the highlights, the main funding sources. Current property taxes looks a little weird this month because of year-ending entries. And when you compare it with last year, this 187,000 entry that we have this month, that includes some year-ending adjustments as well as trustee revenue. It's 307,000 more than last June because there was a major adjustment last June that puts this amount that much ahead. So, but it had to do with an ADA, the ADA percentage last year that was there was a mistake made on the trustee system, and the state auditors caught it. There was an adjustment, and then if you've been in Finance Committee, you know there was another adjustment made this last 2 months because when they did the ADA adjustments this year, the system did a similar thing it did last year at the trustee's office. So anyway, that looks a little weird, but current property taxes is one of the main 3 funding sources that we have. I'll jump on to the bottom, local sales tax. It was $1,066,000. It was $137,000 less than last June, but we had a $143,000 negative adjustment at the trustee's office this June in reference to what I just described describe to you that had to do with the ADA split calculation that was put in a couple months back. Going to the next page, you can see we had strong business tax this month, 77,000. That was 2,300 more than last June, so that was solid. Community service fees, about halfway down the page, came in at 66,756. That's 4,000 more than June of last year. And I will jump on over, unless somebody stops me, to some of the other items. We had our BEP this month that we got. That's halfway down the third page, $3,495,000. We know that's over 50% of our funding for the year from the state, and that was our final payment to round up the fiscal year at over $34,956,000 for the year. So driver's education, I want to stop there because we did get funding for driver's education this year, as we did last year, and it went up. It was $42,877. Last year that was just over $30,000, so it was increased this year. And that has to do, and Dr. Flannery can give more details if you have questions, but the way that we were able to coach some classes with our driver's ed program, we started getting funding about a year ago. So we'll talk more about that a little later. But that was just a good surprise we got a year ago. I'll jump on to the next page. Our fourth highest funding source is at the top of that page, state revenue sharing TVA. We did get our fourth payment of the fiscal year, $307,000, so that gives us over $1.2 million we received from this funding source this year. And that's a $16,923 increase over the same quarter last year, which is strong. We need that. Next, we go to operating transfer indirect costs. That's $40,000. That's something you only see once a year. That is what we get from federal projects. For our federal grants, they allow a percentage of those grants to fund like an administrative fee for the general fund to service that, which was up from last year as well. Now it brings you to the overall revenue for June of 2019. The revenue, $5,729,000 and some change, and that is $370,800 more than June of the prior year. And there is a typo there. I just noticed $370,000 is printed twice in that sentence. $5,729,000 is $370,800 more than the revenue for June of last year. And it gives you a breakdown there of what some of that increase was. The main reason is that adjustment on current property tax. So key expenditures, going to that, other contracted services, that is the university school payment for 2 months. May, it was only $89,428. For June's portion, it was $291. The reason for the big difference is May and July, there's no BEP payments, so therefore you don't share BEP with university school in those 2 months. So that's why there's a variance. Going to the next page, second item down, I'll mention that. Other supplies and materials, $71,100,499 is the category. Dr. Flannery probably notified you we did finish up the year with some excess funds in one of the line items that we fund some of the school programs. So we were able to fund $25,000 to both Daniel Boone and Crockett. That was split, $10,000 for athletics, $10,000 for band, and $5,000 for choral. That was at each school.
Why didn't we break it down like that?
It's been precedent in the past, so I just maintain that. Last year we didn't. Or 2 years ago, wasn't able to do that because we didn't have the excess in there. But that's really been the precedent that was shown to me before I came. So we had about $50,000 that we had excess in that line item.
Do you know how long has it been like that?
Oh, gosh.
And this may be a sore subject or topic, but the bands used to be a lot bigger at the 2 high schools. And when you look at 10,000 just going to athletics and you've got 10,000 going to band, and band, is nowhere near as big as they used to be. I hate to say too much to give them because I know they can use the money. I don't know what they use the money for, but is that how we should be distributing the money?
Instruments are just unreal.
They don't buy them every year.
There's a cycle to them, my understanding.
And we looked at, or not we, but Dr. Flannery, if you looked at, or Brad, their finances, and I mean,
They have operating money, it's like the comment was made, one of those drum lines where they've got like 4 drums they carry out, $12,000.
Yeah. And I know we pay for their uniforms, I think, every so often. We buy the uniforms.
And dry cleaning,
Yeah, those have to be
it
dry
is
cleaned.
incredibly expensive.
But I'm not, 10,000 ain't a lot of money, I realize that. And I also look at athletics, we're only giving 10,000 too. And I mean, that's.
A lot more kids.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and I'm not questioning.
But athletics brings in a lot more as far as ball games and stuff like that, don't they? I mean, you take one good football game night.
One sport brings in your money for athletics, one
I
sport.
understand.
So.
Well, basketball pretty well pays for itself.
One sport brings the money for athletics.
Yeah.
It does. So, but I mean, I'm fine with giving them 10,000. I hate that, you know, we don't, can't do more, I guess, but, I just want to make sure.
So those are also because band itself, it goes all the way down into the middle school programs too. And those kids use
I don't think
our
they use-
instruments. I mean, like,
Really?
what we, you know, nobody's gonna buy a tuba to get their kids to play tuba. So we have to purchase tubas, or drums, or things like that.
We just need all the details.
I agree to look into it would be good, but I also want to say.
But I know you could probably give them 100,000 and they could use it. But
Those instruments are
37,
just so expensive.
I love to get that middle school golf team going. I get those calls all the time.
I didn't mean to get off on that, but.
Thank you, though, Tom.
Go ahead.
You get those
I
too?
got those tapes.
Yeah. So we come up with 1,500?
Before we make another dispersal like that, let's get some facts and send them to the board, see if they want to realign these amounts.
Yeah, and
This
that-
money's spent.
Yeah, and I was gonna suggest if Dr. Flannery or the board gave, percentage breakdowns, we can by all means do whatever y'all want. Yeah. The thing is, we don't know till we get right near the end of the fiscal year what we're gonna get, because the line item this comes out of is kind of I don't wanna say it's a catch-all for schools, but it's where surprises happen, and it's school-related, it's where it comes from. And so we have to wait really till about that 3rd week of June, and just evaluate what's in there. So, but we could certainly, what would be feasible is to maybe ahead of time come up with whether it's a percentage disbursement or whatever, if there's funds available that Dr. Flannery would of course approve before they're dispersed.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll jump to the next page and jump down to other supplies, 72,620,499. I won't read all those. You'll see the 82,432 is expensed in that line item. A breakdown of the main charges, about 6 or 7 items is listed there out of maintenance. And then the item below that, administrative equipment, worth mentioning, 14,498. That was a new fence at Fall Branch, and that was covered by the school safety funds, so fully reimbursed for that money. And then finally, on the last page, you have the summary of overall expenses for June 12. Remember, June is our big month in expenses because we have the deferred teacher payrolls that hit the books for July and August. They all hit the accounting books in June for July and August as well. So $12,267,000 and some change was expenses for June. And that was compared to $12,112,000 for last June. So only $155,000 increase, which is right around that 1% mark. So that's very close for last year. And the two items that really account for retirement contributions was 116 of that, and 90,000 for the SRO expense we paid to the county. It hit May last year, hit June this year, so it's just a comment. That's a summary of the main expenses. So what you have next, when you turn to the next page, the spreadsheet you'll see is just sales tax tracking. We've mentioned what sales tax was, so I won't go into that unless you have any questions. The third item that typically gets some questions in Finance Committee every time is the payables report. I'll do what Todd said and just kind of, if y'all have questions on that, but this item, the payables report for the general fund for the month of June was $972,896. Everything I just mentioned is embedded, of course, in this payables report. So I can give you a moment to see if you have any questions on items that you see over the about 11 or 12 pages, 15 pages of this report. And if you do have a question, just let me know the page number you're on at the top right. You'll find the page number.
What's E&A services?
What page are you on? That's, I believe that's internet connectivity, but what page?
12.
Page 12.
There's a whole long line.
Oh, that's the new phone service, I believe. Page 12. Correct, that's the new phone system.
How's that working? That's what I thought. I've heard some not so nice.
I don't like the hold music when they put you on hold. Could we get that changed?
Get rid
I'd like
of
to
it.
have rock and roll. Or some Conway Twitty. Could we get some Conway Twitty?
I'll say that.
Now, the Barnes and Noble books were bought by,
There was a lot of that bought by Read to Be Ready.
That's what I was
They hit the
thinking.
books in June, yeah.
okay.
And that's fully going to be reimbursed.
Okay.
It's probably not the place to say this, but on the Read to Be Ready deal, is there a federal program that we could get that money for in the next year, Dr. Holden? No. Question.
Mrs. McKinney is actively looking for the grant money in place. Job one.
Anybody have anything else for Brad?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a recommendation if I may.
Yes.
Given the windfall of funds for driver education, I would recommend that the board immediately allow Dr. Kiernan to rent or lease 2 additional vehicles on top of the vehicles that we currently have leased, so that the 2 high schools will have modern vehicles. One of the used vehicles that was at Boone has a blown engine, and the one at Crockett is not far away. Yes, sir.
Could you give me 30 days on that? I would like to explore, I believe we may not have to pay for those vehicles.
You gonna buy one?
No.
That's preferable, but driver's ed starts Monday.
We just now figured out they don't work.
No, we just now got to work, I mean, I'm trying to do this day finance, but we just didn't have one.
But
Well, I'll say this, I didn't know it until
today's-
after last meeting was over.
Yeah.
I've been recently made aware of it.
I will say the lease price currently that we pay is for 2 vehicles, $700 a month.
So do we already have $700 a month in our budget? We don't have any debt to it?
That's correct, and with this funding, the funding increase of the driver's ed is paid for. Yeah.
So it ain't no cost to us, other than what we're already spending.
Not with that extra revenue we've got.
But
How long
you gotta amend your budget line.
We will amend the budget line, yes, on the next budget amendment.
Make a motion that we purchase or continue the lease on.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Well, yeah.
We do that.
We do what? What do we do?
Enter into a lease.
Enter into a lease.
How long is the lease for?
We have an option we can negotiate that. The current ones are 36 months.
We don't have any cars for driver's ed, is that what you're saying?
We've got 2 good cars.
And you need how many?
4.
I don't understand how we wait to the very last minute to decide the week before school that we needed 2 cars. I don't understand, everything we do is last minute or a non-emergency emergency.
Well,
Are we gonna have
Why
cars?
don't you bring us the, I'm gonna make a motion that we consider this, next week, when we have our ESG, and you can bring us the lease agreements to consider.
I'll second that.
You already got motion on
I
that.
already have that's an amendment.
Well, to
Well, no,
defer this, to defer it until.
Postpone.
Or to table it until
Postpone.
the next meeting.
I'd like to postpone.
Postpone, whatever, right.
We don't like table.
All right, I have an amendment. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
He seconds it. Roll call vote on the amendment.
Well, I got a question.
Okay.
The amendment is to postpone it.
Postpone till.
Can you get a
next
lease
week.
agreement by next week? Can
I
we
think
get that
probably
taken
could,
care of?
I think we probably
Do
could.
that, do ours.
I can let them borrow my Toyota pickup till next week.
I make a motion, we don't let that happen.
We have two cars under the lease program right now that will be up in December. One's at Boone, one's at Crockett. We own the other 2 cars at both schools. The one at Crockett still works, but it's not working well. The one at Boone is dead. That's why we were going to take that the one that's still working, not great, but still working. We own it. We're going to take it to the bus garage, lease 2 more. And it's being paid for out of funds that is generated by the driver's ed program, no cost.
Do students have to pay a fee to take driver's ed? Okay.
All right, I have a motion.
Okay, thank you.
I'm calling.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it and then you can repeat it. So,
Better idea.
we've got 2 that's coming out in December. So if we lease these 2 that we're already going to lease, then Chad has to December to check out whatever he needs to check out.
No, she's wanting 2 more. I mean, we're asking for 2 more tomorrow.
Yes, but what she's saying is we have a lease that's coming up in December, and you've asked to check into something. So,
Ending in December.
yeah, ending in December, coming. So you would have that long to prepare whatever needs to be prepared. If you have something that you can get into, then we would
So
have
we wouldn't have
release
to
that.
lease 2 more in December, is what
Yes,
you're saying?
Yes.
That's what she's saying about that.
So, I don't want to postpone.
Mr. Day.
I just want to clarify, it's a good point. So if Chad can't perform, we're going to lease 2 more cars in December, we're going to have 4 leases.
Yes.
And the funds, like the
And we still got funds
42,000,
for
yeah, the
4 cars.
42,000 we've got will more than cover that. And we'll have to see if we can get another lease for $350 per car, but like right now, $700 a month, that's $8,400 a year. You multiply that by 2 more leases, you're at $16,800 a year, and we got $42,000 this year for that, so. And Mitch, I'll tell you how the funding will look, is last year we got the $30,000, a little over $30,000 in July of last year for the driver's ed. It was a surprise, we didn't know we were gonna get it. This year, that funding came in June instead of July, so in that revenue line item for this year, we've got $72,000 sitting in there. Yes, we will for FY19, because that 42,000, instead of coming next month, or coming in July, came in June.
Correct. Next
So,
year will come in June of
So,
2020.
yeah,
So we don't have any revenue until June of 2020.
But we've got 72,000 that we've got this year that funds it.
Do we get bids on those leases? Do we go to like 3 or 4 dealerships and get bids on the cars, or we just go somewhere and get them?
So I actually asked the auditors about that, and I believe it's an operating lease, because we're paying it out of funds, and at worst case scenario, we get three quotes. That's what I believe right now.
I think we need them.
And I believe that's what we did 3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, whatever it is now.
We're in a tight spot.
All right, I have a motion and a second.
We gotta save money.
Could you repeat the motion? You don't know it.
Well, I'd move to postpone until next week so that staff can bring us the leases to either.
Actually have lease in hands next week for you all to approve or not, is that what you're saying? You're saying to bring leases next week
Well, yeah,
in hand?
normally the way you do that is, bring us a lease and then we approve.
At least 3 of them.
I mean, that's up to the.
Or they bid it and bring us
process.
the best one.
Yeah, I mean, that's up to whatever.
My opinion is we don't have to bid, we just get price, we bring 3 quotes.
Yeah, I just wanna know that we got 3 prices.
Yeah.
So that we're not just, we like one better than another, and that's where we go. I just wanna see that we're.
Well, I have a motion and a second. You seconded it,
I'll
right?
second it, yeah.
This is to postpone.
To postpone. Roll call vote.
No.
No,
Closed discussion?
well, it's an amendment to postpone, it's like a table.
Well, earlier we
When you have a
postponed.
table, right?
The motion to postpone passes, discussion's over, motion.
No, I've got something to talk about before we move on to vote.
Further discussion.
All right, further discussion.
The only thing I ain't paid though.
Well, now you can ask them that in December.
No, we could do it for
You gonna get 4 cars for free.
No.
I don't think. You might be good. I'll check you.
One for school.
You got 2 more to get in December, bud.
And you might be aware that Dr. Kiernan's not sure if we can get quotes because they have to install without you all approving it. Go ahead and say what you told me.
Well, no, I was just saying, I remember 3 years ago when we were working with the companies, not every company wants to bid on it because they've got to install that brake on the right-hand side and alter that car and do other things. So we'll ask at least 3 dealerships, probably more, but we may not get 3.
Right. Like,
Yeah, and normal procedures, when we ask for quotes, if we have somebody that doesn't respond, we just list it on the sheet, ask but no
Yeah.
response, and
Well,
go
at least
forward,
we try.
you know? Yeah.
That way, 10 years from now, you don't have an old lobby, and you don't keep it very modern, so.
Roll call vote on that amendment. The amendment is to postpone till next week.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
No.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Amendment passed. Next, we just kick the can on down the hill.
Well, kick it out,
We're postponing now, we trying something new?
Well, we were pretty much finished with the general fund. If there was no questions on the next part of the packet, which is your expense report,
That's where I was going, on the expense piece of the general fund.
okay. Yeah, so the next part of the packet is the general fund expense report, which is 19 pages. Every item that I mentioned in the narrative will be embedded in here. Everything we looked at on the payables report will be embedded in here. Of course, all the salary expenses. So this is your expense report. You've had it in your Dropbox, so any questions?
So going to the last page,
Okay.
I mean, this is, 60,000 foot stuff.
Okay.
Next to the last column, we spent 3 million less than what we budgeted.
You're correct.
Is that correct?
You're correct. For the fiscal year, as of now, that's
Right,
assuming.
subject to audit.
Subject to changes with audit adjustments, yes.
Where was our revenue to budget?
It was on target, actually 32,000 ahead of budget,
Okay, so we had 32,000 more in revenue than we budgeted. Okay.
out of about 67 million and some change. I can
Okay, that's, okay.
pull that up.
So
We had.
did good.
Yes.
The system did really
Yes.
good this year, I think.
Yes, we did. Which is one reason we had that 50,000 left over that we budgeted out to the schools.
That makes me feel better about some of our fund balance choices.
Well, and that's why it's important to have it, when you have a good year like this, put it back for those surprises. So you have the next page is the balance sheet. If there's no other questions, then we would need a motion to approve the general fund financials for the month of June. Unaudited
So
general
move to
fund.
accept?
Second.
Go ahead.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye. Thank you, Brad.
Okay. So the next page that you have, the next 3 items are packages of paper is the federal fund. So with the federal fund payables report, that's what's next. It's been in the Dropbox. I can answer any questions that you have. Now, with the federal fund, all this would be reimbursed at 100% unless we overspend with what's allowed. But
I need a motion, we accept.
I make a motion we accept federal funds.
Second. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Flainer?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Mr. Gager?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye.
The last thing that I have is just a point of clarification. Hope the director's okay that I asked this. But I know there's been some discussion about Dr. Flannery's, if he gets a pay increase for FY20, and we're putting all the pay increases in now for the upcoming teacher payroll that hits in September. And I just wanted some clarification if there was a decision made on that, because his contract states he does not get an automatic pay raise. The board has to take action every year. And so I needed to just know if that had been done and I missed it, or...
Well, we were waiting to get back to make sure that was confirmed, I think, and we asked for it to come back this month to see. So he did not get the 2% raise with the rest of the system.
That's correct. In his contract, it states it's the board's sole discretion to adjust the director's pay if all items were met on his evaluation, either met or exceeded. That's the verbiage of the actual contract that's enforced. So in past...
Now, wait a minute, what did you say right there?
Let me pull it up.
It's his, I would have thought it.
You said evaluation, and yet that is bonuses.
But it ain't even there.
I'll read it to you.
He get the cost of living 3% off everybody else.
It's not his contract. That's what we talked about last month.
I'll read you the exact verbiage of the contract and tell you which section that is in. Okay, so in Dr. Flannery's contract, this is section 4 that's titled compensation. And under B of section 4, it says salary raises, and the exact verbiage is the board, or at least this is the contract that was sent to my department for us to put in his pay. It says the board, in its sole discretion, may elect to raise the director's salary if the director's annual evaluation reflects that the director has met or exceeded the expectations of the board. So that's separate from the bonus. That's the way I read it.
Basically, we need to make a motion, if we want to make a motion to give him the 2% raise that we're giving the teachers.
Yeah, or whatever you decide.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to make sure we're doing something we can do, because now you are changing his contract, because you were actually changing his pay rate in his contract. And if you're changing something in the contract, one, we gotta vote on it, and two, we gotta have 15 days beforehand to do that. You know, if he was just automatically getting that 2% or whatever, then it would happen, no big deal, we're moving on. But we can't do that tonight, as we haven't been clarified on this.
And I don't know if this makes any difference, but last month in the minutes, we brought this up, and they said that, you know, to allow research, you know, so would that not open that door up to have this conversation? I don't know.
You gotta post, you have to give 15 days notice if we're gonna do something with his contract. And I think, and I might be wrong here, but I'm just saying, we're changing his contract.
You're basically giving him a $2,500 raise,
Yes.
$2,600 raise, because he'd get the two.
No, this is a raise.
It's a raise.
This is an actual pay
It is
increase.
a part
like-
of the 2%. It's a motion.
Did we actually pass that? I'm looking at the minutes. We didn't pass the 2,500. Okay, because there was a motion, but yeah, I didn't see what.
And whatever you have to do, or whatever you decide at the time you do it, you can retro it back to July 1st, whenever that is.
And that's,
you know.
that's one thing I'd like to say. We don't have to do something tonight. I know Dr. Flannery may like it or whatever, but whenever we do make a decision, we can go retroactive back to July 1 and he get, you know, whatever the board chose to do. But my suggestion, Mr. Chairman, would be to deal with this next month, at the beginning of the month, or the board meeting.
First thing on the agenda.
And if we're changing, to me, we're changing something. So I would like to as well, you get with the attorney and let's get it fixed to where the director gets whatever raise the teachers get or the system gets, and then we're not dealing with this again.
All right, let me ask you this. Does this board want to give Dr. Flannery a 2% raise?
We can't say that. We can't say that.
I don't know if
Well,
someone put
We
that,
can't vote on that.
I don't know if someone put that in there, ain't nothing to do with Dr. Flannery, but then every director, I mean,
We'd have a new contract with a new
Every
director.
time.
It's always been, I don't understand why it's not in here to begin with, because I was told, we were told this is the same contract we've had with others. And others always just got it. We didn't deal with this.
So the others got the 2% raise.
They would have.
And then they also had the goal things in there
They had
where
their
they met their
evaluation
goals.
bonus.
Because, we had to do something different on
Well,
that.
That's different.
It was
We have to
under the
approve that.
influence that the board would say yes or no. That's what I was asking. Do you want me to go and talk to the attorney to do this? Or you do not want me? If you go and say you want me to, then
Well, I
the
think-
board needs to vote to
I
tell
think
me
you-
to do that.
We don't have to vote to tell you to do that. You just come back next month with that information, and then the board can make the motion to adjust his pay rate to 2% that the rest of the system got, or vote no not to.
I have a question. Did we give, when Caitlin come and got her people raises, she didn't get one. Did she get the 2.5% raise?
She got the 2 plus a step increase, just like any other general fund employee. So she's on a pay scale, she went to another year experience, and it would have applied whatever that increase was, plus she got 2%.
Okay. I was just making sure it was fair.
So the only employee we didn't give a raise to was Dr.
That is correct. He's the only employee in the whole system that did not get a raise at this time.
Do you think he needs one?
Well, do we get, have you already ratified your contract? I mean, has that already been, huh?
I ain't signed anything.
Okay.
Nothing's been put in front.
Well, you've got a
You
contract
had-
right now.
Yeah, he has the same contract. We added another year to it.
Right.
Oh, you can't change anything else to ratify it then? That's what I'm doing.
Well, if we're gonna do something to his contract,
It's gotta be on.
we've got to advertise 15 days before. We did that before. We gave, our contract's only good for 4 years. Dr. Flannery had 18-month or whatever contract, so we were good to add something to it without having to redo it. And if we tried to add 3 years to it, we couldn't have done that,
Right.
because it would have exceeded the 4-year contract. We'd have had to done a whole new one. You can't extend beyond the 4 years. So now we just can't. My recommendation, Mr. Chairman, would be to get with Mr. Bennett and see, how do we get that into the contract, that he would get the annual raise if the system gets one, and how do we go about, can we vote to give him that 2% if the board chooses retroactive July 1? That'd be my recommendation to make.
So we just look at the contract and say, yeah, that's what we want to do. Correct?
So basically,
Yep.
you're asking me to get a hold of Mr. Bennett and put this in the contract.
I think that's the cleanest thing to do, and then making sure you get with Jennifer if we're gonna talk about the contract next month and have it first item on the agenda.
All right,
And now you gotta do notice.
15 days.
15 days. You have anything else, Brad?
That's all I had. That's all I had. As long as you did do a motion to approve the federal fund, right?
Yes.
Then I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you, Brad.
Any more committee reports? Staff reports. Mr. Adams?
Still here?
Oh, yeah. Taking a phone call, sorry. I believe Jennifer has dropped in your Dropbox the annual vehicle authorization report. For those of you who have not seen this before, it's a report of which vehicles we have that are taken home with employees 24 hours a day. And you have the list there of which employees have the vehicle, which vehicle it is, and the justification for why they have it 24 hours, and the mileage they drive it from home to work every day.
And this covers all of the system's personal vehicles? I mean, or vehicles that aren't maintenance trucks that are...
Well, like Mr. Patrick takes his truck home with him, and the reason he's on call 24 hours a day.
Right, but
so
this includes everything but school buses.
Exactly. And I'm not sure, there's like maybe 10 people who take the car home, and you see most of it is security related. You know, if there's a alarm going off at a school, or food service usually have it in case a freezer breaks down, they have to go repair a freezer or something like that. And the mechanics take theirs home in case they have to go fix a bus at the beginning of the day, 6 a.m.
You got some on here that's got some AGE on them. So, I mean, what's the...
I'm just 58.
Huh?
You look good for your age.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
I didn't think that. I thought he looked pretty good.
are we planning on replacing any of them in the next year or two?
There's a bus mechanic, I'm sorry.
There are some that need to be replaced. Yes,
I think
sir.
the oldest on there's a 98,
Yeah.
92.
a 92.
Dodge Ram, Carl Drive.
Does a bus mechanic go out at night, or what's, why do they drive theirs home?
Again, sometimes they'll get a call, first thing in the morning, be 6 a.m., and they'll, my bus won't start, or something's going on with it, and they'll have to leave from their house straight to where the bus driver is to get it fixed and on the road as soon as possible.
A lot of that happens in the winter time, but when diesel's cold.
Yeah. So what are we doing, approving this, or what?
Is that what we need to do?
Yeah, just approve it.
I'll make a motion, we approve it as is.
Second.
Any more discussion?
No.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger?
Yes.
Mr. Flainer?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger? Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
All right, thank y'all.
New business, WCEA.
Good evening. Heard wonderful things about opening in service and being able to go to Crockett and Boone, and lots of good feedback on the industry visits. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Roundtable, Mr. Hammonds.
Good meeting. Wish everyone good luck and well wishes for the beginning of the new school year. Appreciate all the staff's done to get ready for the year. And looking forward to the new Boones Creek School.
Mr. Meredith.
Good luck next week to all those teachers and principals and central staff that are still here. Looking forward to the start of school. Fingers crossed everything goes smoothly and buses start and air conditioning works and all those good things. So thank you all.
Mr. Ganger.
Looking forward to the new school year. New Boones Creek School, I think is awesome. Good ribbon cutting ceremony. Appreciate Dr. Flannery and your staff, everybody that took care of that, because I think it was a huge success and a good way to open up the school and open it to the community and let those know. I would like to ask, have you seen since the opening day any more enrollment? Did we pick up some students, or do you know? Or
Carla, you told me we added how many this afternoon?
Oh, I talked to them about 3:30 and then again around 4:30, and they had added 6 first graders during that time period.
We've had to add 2 teachers today, and after Monday, we may have to add 4 more. We had hoped we'd open at 700. they'll open it AUG.
Good.
I can't guarantee that until
Yeah.
we see these kids.
And I think it will, and I think it's going to continue to grow. And so, I mean, I think we're doing our part anyway. And to me, I mean, it was beyond worth it. I mean, to give Boones Creek something like that's been behind forever in our system, if you ask me. So I'm glad that we got the school built, got it open, fixing to open it for school come Monday morning, and I'm very, very happy for them. So I hope the enrollment does continue to climb. That's all I got.
Mr. Flamer?
Just want to say thank you for everybody working so hard, getting the school ready to open. Appreciate the SROs and Richard ready to take care of our kids and doing everything that they're doing. We just appreciate them, and just want to thank everybody for working so hard. And welcome to the new teachers. Know they'll do great. Know we'll have some great things go on this year. Thank you for the 4 new student board representatives. I think last year was a big hit for those 4 kids. I know I appreciate hearing, their thoughts and things on things. And I can't wait to see those 4, how they contribute to this group. Healthcare heroes. I mean, there's a lot of stories we don't hear about every day, but to hear something like that, that's incredible. I mean, that's incredible. But great meeting, kind of short. I think we'll stay here a little while longer. But also,
I have really tried hard to run this through.
The Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett facilities, I think, is going to be great. And
Keep going.
That's it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Jason?
Hey, I got a couple things. I did enjoy the retreat. I thought that was a good time and good learning atmosphere. I liked that a lot. I enjoyed the school tour. I was, I guess, lucky enough to have quite a few teachers come out and look through our stuff, and I enjoyed sharing with them and showing them around. I thought that was fun. I hope they did. I hope we all come in open-minded with our meeting with the commissioners and the town of Jonesboro and everything on this new Jonesboro idea coming up, and that we can be very open-minded on that. And I had one quick question. Chad brought up SROs. Where are we at on that? We still short a couple.
I'm not supposed to say no meeting.
Okay.
We also.
I thought I heard somebody say we was going to have 2 at Boones Creek, and I was thinking if we got 2 there, and yeah, I ain't okay.
Well, it's supposed to.
Anyway, good meeting, enjoyed it. Thank you.
Ms. Buchanan?
I have a question. The band app, is everybody using that K through 12?
I believe everybody's going to band. I hadn't heard any different.
Me and Crockett or not?
It's requesting the
remind.
Do what? All of a sudden, my mind wants money, so.
So what are you doing?
We can still keep remind, we're small enough.
Oh.
So what's Crockett doing?
Something called Arrow, I forget. Something.
Big as they are, I guess, they got the new.
Oh, I just wish there was consistency. Okay.
Can't afford it.
All right. Can't afford it. I did enjoy the retreat. I think we got a lot accomplished, and I think it's the best one I've ever been to. I feel like we got more accomplished than the whole time I've been on the board. So I really enjoyed that. So best wishes to all the staff, the students, the teachers going into the new school year. Summer's way too short, but I hope it goes well going Monday. Thank you.
Ms. Dillon?
Oh, congratulations to the student board representatives. I look forward to working with them, and those students who designed that prosthetic arm are really heroes. That's amazing. imagine what they're gonna do later on. They're doing that now. We had an excellent ribbon cutting at the New Boones Creek School. Also a great opening day in service at Crockett. And I'm hoping for a smooth, stress-free first day of school on Monday.
Dr. Flannery, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Glad to be here. Safe travels to work.
August the 8th, 5 o'clock, ESG meeting. August the 13th, 5 o'clock, policy meeting.
Wait just 1 minute.
Come on.
August 5th.
August the 8th, ESG, 5 o'clock. August the 13th, 5 o'clock, policy. And August the 15th, 6 o'clock, joint workshop, McKinney Center, with the town of Jonesboro, Alderman, and the county commission. At the 15th?
The meeting starts at 6, but there's food for the board at 5 o'clock.
McKinney Center.
Is this ESG thing, we're gonna vote and get this yes or no out of the way, is that what we're doing?
I don't know if there'll be a vote or what. It's a,
Oh, we done
it's
this
a,
done
it's a,
3 times.
well, it's a shorter cut version of what they're presenting us this time. The way I
What we've already
understand
talked about.
it. They voted, or we talked about it. Was it a $23 million project? Now it's down to a 16 or 13, 15 million dollar project.
Is he gonna share with us
He's
what
supposed
the
to
cuts
share
are,
what
where
them
he cut it?
cuts. Yes.
So we can see exactly what they're doing. Okay.
Staff, does staff have anything else they'd like to say?
I'll make your signature before we leave.
Okay. Fall District Queen.
September 16th, if you want to do that.
At Science Hill.
Fall District meeting on the 16th, did you say?
Correct.
16th, and it will be at Science Hill?
Of what month?
No.
No.
We'll meet there.
Fall district meeting, 16th of September. That's all.
Thank y'all for coming. Good meeting. And I did enjoy the retreat. So, meeting adjourned.
Record time. Good night. Got that, Mary Beth?
Amazing.
See what happens when you don't talk a whole lot?
I did talk a lot. Did I?
You did good tonight. I'm talking tonight.
Were you out the hall? Good meeting.
I have to go home, though, can't stay here.
That's right. Oh, I heard that somewhere.
I talked to that one.
Leave early, man. You're not, we're still working. Oh, yeah.
People were asking me why they were getting this ban